I want to talk about how to handle New Year's resolutions the right way. I'm about a week late on this one, and that's actually part of the point. I kind of had a plan in the back of my head of doing at least a short workout every day this year, and I've already missed two workouts, days 1 through 4. My first workout was on the 5th of January, so that's a pretty epic fail. But that's really what I want to talk about here. The fact that when we try to have resolutions with 100% success rates, there's no room for error. We're trying to be perfect. We put so much pressure on ourselves that we can't actually feel good throughout this process. And that's really the whole point of any goal that you're trying to achieve, is to feel good throughout the actual process. What's the point in delaying gratification? You should feel good when you're actually going through the work. Of course, sometimes it's going to suck. And I used to think that it was a really important thing to learn, this idea of delaying gratification. But now I realize that enjoying life in the moment while still achieving our goals is the true balance that we should be striving for. And it's actually quite easy to go for this. How I like to approach it is by having basically one big goal, this big pie in the sky, big dream, massive goal type thing that you're working towards. So for me right now, that's basically a book or this podcast, and then baselining all of the other priorities in life. So these are the habits that you might consider to be really important to your health, your well-being. For me, it would be nutrition, fitness, spending time with loved ones, meditation, writing, podcasting, and creating content. So those are the things that I want to maintain as habits, just like brushing my teeth. I want to create really good winning streaks in these areas. Just keep them consistent, make them easy and effortless so that I can continue to grow or at least maintain my abilities in those areas. So we baseline those main things overall. And then when it comes to the big dreams, what do we do about that? We have fun hobby stuff as well. So I like to picture all of this as like a pyramid. Your priorities are on the bottom. Those are the habits that you need to have consistent every day. Like I said, nutrition, spirituality, friends, family. In the middle, you have your big dream stuff. So that's, for me, things like the podcast, writing a book. For you, it might be to be a successful musician or to sell some of your artwork. And then on top, we have hobbies and jobs. Those are the things that can come and go. Maybe you're into sneaker art one day, but you would like to get into hand lettering or knitting toques the next day, and maybe you have a job driving Uber, then you work in a woodworking shop, and then you become a nurse. Like those things can kind of come and go. But in the middle, you have those really important goals that are just big dreams to you. We can also think of this as a circle, where at the middle, you have your really core important habits. So again, food, sleep, water, and then things that you want to make sure that you don't go too long without doing exists in the next ring. So for me, the podcast, writing a book, again, could be music or getting better at your fitness. And then outside of all of that is the work and hobbies. So they're the furthest from our most important targets. Now, how do you get things done in these areas? So this is the unique way of doing things that I think is really important. For a big dream, big goal project, so to speak, you want to create a waterfall action board to your one thing. What this looks like is identifying the big goal, breaking it up into steps, and then deciding what steps you need to do and what steps you can outsource, and then outsourcing those. Then with the steps that you need to do, figure out what is the next one that you should work on as the most important priority, and how can you build a habit of completing this. So for me, it would be episodes like this, a solo podcast episode. It would be the workflow around doing research for guest interviews, creating the content with them and then getting these episodes edited and uploaded, but how do you build habits around the work that you have to do and try and remove yourself from all of the other stuff? So I'll use another example. Something else I'm going through right now is writing a book, one of my current big goals. So again, it's just above those real priorities, but it's basically the second most important thing that I'm working on in my life. I'm going to outsource a lot of the things like marketing, cover design, editing. So I've reached out to contractors in all of those areas. I wanted to learn from someone who's been there, done that as well. So I have an author coach. But the big part that I need to do is create the chapter outlines. And then I had to, at the very beginning of the project, do all of the writing. And now, at least once a day, I want to work through the 1,000 words per at least one or two chapters and go through some of the editing process. The other thing that I have to do coming up is to really start sharing my work with beta readers, people that could give some feedback, that would be good to take a look at the writing and see what's confusing, what they vibe with, what I should change. And then eventually, I will also want to be the face of marketing a lot of this once it's available for purchase. So those are the things that I have to do. Everything else could be outsourced. And all of this while I have a baseline when it comes to my fitness. So trying to get in 30 minutes of exercise each day, eating 80% whole foods is what I strive for with nutrition, doing some meditation and breath work for 10 to 20 minutes, podcasting and creating content for at least 30 minutes, and spending minimum, but ideally a few hours with my family each day. So these are my personal baselines. They're the habits that I check off every single day, and I'm just trying to keep these streaks going at least daily as a minimum. Oftentimes, I'll do a lot more. 3 times this week, I did workouts that were 90 minutes long. And sometimes I have the time to spend a lot more with my family, like this upcoming weekend, we'll be going snowboarding. But these streaks are really important that you are at least consistent in each of these areas as you work towards your big dream. Then we have the other circle at the very outside of all of our priorities, or at the tippy top of the pyramid. So that's our hobbies or jobs, or in some cases, jobbies, hobbies that feel like jobs. The things that we do because we're just really multi-passionate people and we have so many areas of interest and things that bring us joy. So for me right now, there are tons. I'll have to list them off. Singing, poetry, ukulele, piano, hand lettering, making clothes, filmmaking, photography, hockey, painting, reading, drawing, woodworking, cooking, running, teaching, and I could go on for a long time. But each of these things I need to just do sometimes because they bring me joy. They don't need results. Maybe one of them will creep up to become a priority someday, but for now, I don't need to worry about results in any of these areas. Unlike the book or the podcast, these are just for fun. They're things that could come and go, and as long as I'm doing some hobbies every now and again, life goes along pretty well. So to recap, let go of perfection, appreciate that life can be a little more easy and effortless, and when it comes to your goals, it's about continuing to push forward, continue to get caught trying, as my friend Majora Carter would say. If you miss a day or two, it doesn't mean failure, especially when it comes to the big dream stuff, because it does take a long time, but just keep taking steps. And then secondly, maintain your core baseline habits for consistency. So when it comes to things like sleep, nutrition, exercise, relationships, spirituality, meditation, create a very solid foundation to then build your big dreams on top of. Speaking of which, the next thing is to make sure that you have big dreams, or at least one. What is the big project that you are working on that means more than just work, hobby, and is maybe just a slightly less important than your true foundational priorities, but that really big dream. So are you writing a book? Are you building a business? Are you trying to design a clothing brand? Like, what is your big dream? And then when it comes to that big dream, the next thing we talked about was the idea of using an action board, like a waterfall system, to set goals for that. And I glossed over it. We could go over it if you want someday in a little more detail. But essentially, when it comes to the big dream, what's your 10-year goal? What's your 1-year goal? What's your quarterly goal? And then what's your weekly goal? Kind of set those, have them in mind, but then forget them and just build a daily habit. So if you want to write a book, what daily habit can you achieve right now? Finally, make some time for hobbies and different jobs that you enjoy, but don't stress about those things because those are the bouncy balls that can come and go. Just make sure that you are doing things that bring some vitality to your life. Remember, none of this is about perfection. It's all about progress. And I would love to hear how your goals or resolutions are going any time of year, because the new year is definitely overrated. So please do DM, comment, send me an email, let me know what you're working on and how I can support or share your work. Most importantly, keep moving forward. And until the next episode, just keep learning.